Bernie, Sid, Alexa. The only three names that matter. Bernie and Sid in the morning.
Now on Echo devices.
77 WABC.
So, Bernie, you know Mike Sullivan, of course, Mr. Brennan and Carr in Brooklyn, and you know his brother Tom Sullivan, who ran senator from Queens. But you don't know Brian. He's another great Sullivan brother, and he was a cop for many, many, many years. In fact, I know Brian the longest out of all the brothers. And he's been honking me for weeks. And what's your buddy's name, too, Bernie, that you spoke to this weekend?
He is a Queens DA, Bob Masters.
Masters. So Sullivan's been honking me for weeks to get Lasak on the show. He loves him. And then he says to me that he's got another buddy, a graduate of the prestigious FBI National Academy, Lieutenant Bill Carbone. And all these guys are out there pumping up Greg Lasak for Queens DA. Greg, by the way, was the youngest ADA ever in the Homicide Bureau in Queens. In fact, his nickname is Mr. Homicide. And I believe with all the fundraising going on that he's actually had more people donate to his campaign than the favorite right now, which is Curtis Lewa's ex-wife, Melinda Katz. Right. So with that said, here he is, our guy. We're endorsing him for Queens DA, Mr. Homicide, Greg Lasak. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning. How are you?
We're great. Thanks thanks for coming on today. I mean, there's a lot of people. You heard three names there that you know personally, but there's a lot of people in this city, not just in Queens, but in other boroughs, that really want to see you get this win. That's got to make you feel pretty good.
Yes, it does. That's very flattering. The only problem is after I talked to Jill, she introduced herself.
Yeah.
Your commercials came on, and the commercial said, "No blade Lasak."
Right.
For the eye surgery.
Right.
Yeah.
My biggest problem is getting people to pronounce my name right.
How do you say
Lasak.
it?
Lasak.
Lasak.
Okay. Lasak.
Well, that's
5 letters.
Oh, that's your fault. Make your name easier. Do something about it.
Well, listen, we're going to try to help right here, right now. Lasak, Greg Lasak for Queens District Attorney. There are 7 Democratic candidates running in this primary, June 25th. The general election is November. And, Greg, you have a good chance, a very good chance. And, in fact, you're the last hope for Queens, I would say, because it's going to be a Democrat no matter what. And you're the best of that bunch. Queens, of course, becoming an increasingly center of left-wing lunacy, while these Manhattan and Brooklyn DAs, and to a lesser extent the Bronx DA, they're all about, we elect them to keep these guys, the bad guys in jail. These guys want to let them out. No cash bail, that type of thing. Where do you stand on all that, Greg?
It's insane. I go to these candidate forums, and it seems like I'm running for the head of the Legal Aid Society. Everybody is asked to basically give a list of the crimes that you won't prosecute. It's very confusing. It's very confusing. As far as where I stand, a good DA not only prosecutes, but also looks to, make the system better. And all along, we've been doing that in Queens. I had the privilege of working for Judge Brown for about 13 years. And all of these things they're talking about, diversion programs, drug treatment court, veterans court, we've all been doing that for years in Queens. They're making it sound like they're reinventing the criminal justice system. And they're not. They're not.
No, you're right. Let's have one other spot here where I think may turn out very well for you is Brian Sullivan is a former cop, Lieutenant Carbone cop too. So you've been described as cop's cop. Somebody that is very pro-police, which is another issue with some of our local politicians that seem not to take the side of the police, but you're anything but that. Isn't that right?
That's correct. I'm fair. And police department, through their ComStat program that was introduced in the early 90s, has driven down the crime rate together with the DA's offices in the city to record lows. And these people are attacking this very system because of complacency. We have had the crime rate so low, people forget the bad old days when crack was introduced into the city. And we're a victim of our own success, I believe.
Yeah, no doubt about it, yes. And if you can I believe you are the only one out of the 7 Democrats running for district attorney in Queens on June 25th that can save Queens from returning to the bad old days of the 70s and the 80s. Speaking of which, our mayor, part and parcel of his wanting to eliminate bail for violent defendants, is closing down Rikers Island. He wants to reduce the population and put some of these prisons in neighborhoods, like Queens, for example. Where do you stand on that, Greg Lasak?
From Lasak. I wish I had that eyeglass surgery company. I wouldn't have to be doing it.
Lasak!
When I first started running, I put out that I was against closing down Rikers and putting in neighborhood jails. Nobody wants a jail in a neighborhood. Nobody does. After Community Board 9 voted 28-0 that they did not want the jail in Kew Gardens, then my main opponent decided that she was against the jail in Kew Gardens, but she has never told us what part of Queens she wants the jail.
Right, she supports closing Rikers Island and putting jails in neighborhoods. Let's just face it.
You got to put them somewhere.
Yeah.
If you're not going to put them on Rikers, that's why Rikers is the best place for them. Right now, there's 2 vacant facilities that used to hold 3,200 prisoners. You can either refurbish those, make them state-of-the-art facilities, safe for the inmates and safe for the correction officers, or you can start building new ones after you knock them down, if you can't refurbish them.
Right.
But the best location for them is on Rikers Island.
No doubt.
Well, listen, in the end here, Greg, and one of the reasons why you should get this gig ahead of people like Rory Lansman and Melinda Katz is that you're Mr. Queens. I mean, you live in, you grew up, I should say, in Woodside. You've been in Queens your whole life. You've dedicated your life and your service to that borough, and that alone, I believe, should make you the prohibitive favorite.
I love Queens. Like you said, I've lived here my whole life. The first half of my life in Woodside, second half in Richmond Hill. My wife, Patty, and I raised our 3 kids here. And I don't want to leave.
Right.
But if one of these other people get in with their ideas,
you're out. You're going to
be safe.
You're going to Delray Beach, aren't you?
or Long Beach.
Yeah,
Oh, Bernie.
that's right.
How about that? Now you're a Queens guy, so I'm assuming this is the case, Greg. You're a diehard Met fan, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, look you got to win.
Me and the present acting DA, Jack Ryan.
Yes. Both big Met fans.
We're going to go out and campaign for you. Greg Lasak running for Queens District Attorney June 25th. Folks, go out there and vote for this man. He's the last chance to save Queens. And listen, say hi to Bob Masters. I'll say hi to Randy Fleischman for you. She's my neighbor out there in Long Beach. And good luck to you, Greg.
Yes, they're great people. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You did a terrific job. Okay, good luck June 25th, which, by the way, is my 27th wedding anniversary with Danielle. So good luck on that big day for you, Greg. We'll take a short break. Still to come next hour, Jilp on the Street, and our weekly conversation with Bill O'Reilly, who I'm sure has his own opinion on what Robert Mueller said yesterday. But coming up next, another win for the Yanks, another crushing loss for the Mets on the left coast. We got it in the Blitz. Coming up next.
Big Bird doesn't have a clue.
Bernie and Sid in the morning. 77 WABC.